flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and join the board in a moment of silence as we honor our veterans, our first responders, and our active military. And this week, I ask that you continue to keep in your thoughts and prayers the family of John Spellman, who was the longtime village attorney here in the village of Mineola, who passed away last week and was laid to rest earlier this week. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our budget hearing. This evening we have a budget hearing followed by a work session. So I would ask for Mr. Rivera to please read the item.
Notice is hereby given that the tentative budget for the year 2026-2027 has been completed by the budget officer and filed in the office of the village clerk in the village hall, wherein same will remain open for inspection by the general public between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. until April 15th, 2026, when the public hearing will be held in Village Hall of Incorporated Village of Mineola, 155 Washington Avenue, Mineola, New York, 11501, at 6:30 p.m. to consider said budget for final adoption.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rivera. Last week we had a budget presentation by Mr. Chacon. Now this is a budget hearing. So, Mr. Chacon, if you would like to come up to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, John G.
Good evening.
Tonight, I'm going to go over the 2026-27, some of the budget highlights. If you open up the budget to the revenue, which is page 2, the first item is pilots on line 55. We're increasing pilot revenue by $65,000 due to pilot payments coming in higher than anticipated. If you stay on the same page, line 64, on-street parking, we're increasing that by $100,000 due to the purchase of temporary usage meters by NYU Langone and developers, and broken meters and outdated machines being replaced by new kiosks. Line 77, we're staying with revenue, permits for the building. It's increasing by $50,000 due to anticipated commercial permits in fiscal year 26-27. Line 81, fines and forfeitures, is increasing $175,000 due to prior year trend. Revenues continue to exist in upward pattern. Line 88 is the Harrison Airport Garage revenue. It's increasing by $100,000 as additional parking permits are being purchased, driven by greater awareness of the parking garage. Line 93, mortgage tax, is increasing by $75,000, which is a result of higher property values and increase in mortgage activity. And the last revenue item I want to point out is called temporary municipal assistance. Governor Hochul has increased temporary municipal assistance for municipalities, resulted in state aid increasing by $36,956 for the village of Mineola.
What line is that?
94.
Line 94.
The other.
Yep.
So if you move to line 235 on the budget, which is expenses now, which is on page 5. The first item, and it's also line 295 in the fire department, it's the liability and fire insurance. It's increasing by $41,765 due to addition of new vehicles, equipment, and market conditions. The next item on page 5, but it's also in the water fund and the pool fund, is the MTA payroll tax, which is going to be a decrease of $30,500 effective July 1st, 2025. Municipalities are exempt from the Metropolitan Commuter Transportation District payroll tax. The next item I wanted to point out was line 539. which is on page 11 of the budget. Pension costs are increasing by 100,000 because the New York State retirement system is changing the average contribution from 16.5% of payroll to 17.6% of payroll. And the last expense item I wanted to point out was line 544. Health and medical insurance were increased by 160,000 as night shift rates have increased between 8 and 9%. With all these changes to the budget for fiscal year 26-27, there'll be a tax levy increase of $291,064 from last year's budget. This would result in a 1.95 tax levy, which remains below the tax cap of 2% for fiscal year 26-27.
Thank you, Mr. Chacon, and I think just to highlight on the expense side, we have a little bit of good news, which is the payroll tax finally for municipalities has been taken off the books, and so we used to pay $30,500 between all the different lines, and now we pay nothing. That's great. $30,000, we'll take it. However, on the other hand, the things that we can't control, such as the pension increases $100,000, so that $30,000 now doesn't seem so good, and the medical insurance and health insurance $160,000. So, as well as our fire insurance by $41,000. So you have $300,000 of increases that we can't control, that we can't do anything about. This is, we have to provide insurance, we have to make the pension payments, so it is what it is. We have to find those savings somewhere. Some of it we do control. So and last week we approved the replacement of outdated meters with new, more efficient meters. That allows us to increase the budget line on that side of the ledger, on the revenue side. Permits, our building department is running really well. A lot of people are moving into the village and they are fixing up their homes, so they're coming in and taking out permits, plumbing permits, electrical permits, demolition permits, building permits, and so as a result of that, we're able to predict that we will be able to increase it by $50,000 and meet it. Having said all of that, we still have to make up about $291,000 on the tax levy side, which is not a lot, but when you think about our budget is about $28 million, about 50% of that comes from the tax levy. The other 50% comes from permits and fees and fines and state aid and other revenue sources that we have. So the 291,000 isn't a huge number, but in terms of percent, it's 1.95. Essentially what this means is that for homeowners, and I know that this is a discussion that we have often, is the village portion of your taxes is the smallest slice of that pie. Doesn't compare to the school or the county tax, and for that, you get all the services that we talk about all the time, from snow plowing to street sweeping to sanitation to pool to parks to events to this building to fire department, library, etc. And I think we do a lot with that portion of your tax bill. And so although we are once again under the tax cap, we're talking about, for most people, nominal increases on their village taxes, okay? It is an increase, it may vary, but we're not talking about hundreds of dollars a year for most residents. And again, a lot of it is out of our control. So I do think that once again, Mr. Chacon has provided us with a solid budget, I've heard of other municipalities having to, raise the tax levy 7%, 8%, 10%, double digits, and that's not happening here, and it never really has happened here. And it's because on the revenue side, we do a great job with parking and our building department and our justice court and running a tight ship. We've also had some retirements this year that have helped us on the on the salary side. obviously, we're replacing those people, but we're replacing them at a lower cost. And at a different tier, so there are some benefits, although we will miss the expertise and the value and the history of those long-time employees. It also obviously works in our favor when we're talking about budgeting purposes. So we have had a number of senior members of our staff from DPW, et cetera, retire or have recently put in for their retirement. So, and I think that's what has enabled us to keep this under 2%. We just, early this year, agreed to a 9-year collective bargaining agreement. And what that does is enables Mr. Chacon and the board to be able to plan and predict and budget much better, knowing what those increases are. And it also prepares us for the winters that we had. You know, there was a lot of overtime this winter with snow removal, but we have contingency built in, and our contingencies worked, and that's why it's important that, you know, many times if you cut too much, you know, off the bone, and then when you need it, you may not have it there. So we also want to be responsible in case, you know, we have another winter like this or an event where we need to be able to have money in the unreserved fund balance to deal with those you know, rainy day situations when they come up. So thank you, Mr. Chacon.
Thank
Okay, I appreciate your hard work. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Sartori.
Thank you. Basically, I wrote down the exact same things as Mr. Chacon was speaking, and I said that's 300 grand right there. So this levy is, I would love to say there's no tax increase. No tax is increasing. Great. But how would we pay for these mandated increases? It would cost us to cut services, cut programs, and things that our community already expects from us. So unfortunately, we do have to raise it. It is under the cap. It is financially responsible. We're being smart about how we're doing it. We're being disciplined and responsible to how we're going to cover all of the needs and wants of our community. Great fire department, sanitation, snow plowing, all of it. Clean water. Water alone is a very expensive proposition, but it's something that is important and expected from a government. So I think that this budget accomplishes that. It accomplishes the needs and the wants. We still have beautiful parks. We just improved our park recently. We still have all these programs. We have Sounds on Second. We have Halloween parties and Christmas tree lightings and all the fun stuff. Community pool, swim lessons, all the fun stuff. But we still make sure that we have all of the really required and important things, such as water and fire and sanitation and all that. So I think that we're lean and mean. I think that while we do have to replace people that are retiring, as the mayor just mentioned, we have a small, lean, mean team, especially our DPW department. There's not a lot of guys that do a lot of work for this community. So we know how to stretch a dollar. We know how to cut corners where we need to and how to really maximize that revenue. So thank you, Mr. Chacon, because I know that it's a mission to accomplish all of that within a small tax cap levy, but we did it. I think that this is very fiscally sound, very responsible, and it's really what our residents expect and deserve from this board. I think that budgeting is probably the most important thing that this board could do and do correctly, because if we don't do it correctly, everything falls apart. So I think it's one of our most important responsibilities and jobs, and I think that with your help and as a team, we created something really good here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Casado.
I have no questions, but Jacques, thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
And your department as well.
Thank you. Trustee Clark.
Yeah, I agree, great job. Thank you very much for all your effort. And I think you've covered every other comment, so I'm all set.
Thank you. I'd like to also mention that unfortunately Trustee Salaski is still on the mend. She is feeling much better, and we hope to see her here at our next meeting in May. I'm sure we will, but she obviously sends her regrets, but unfortunately she's recovering right now. And just to echo the Deputy Mayor, so I just did some quick math here. The increases mandated just on the lines that Mr. Chacon mentioned is $301,765, and our tax levy increase is $291,064. So it literally is almost, you know, to the penny. If those increases weren't there, then it really, that is the increase. That is the 1.95 increase that we see here. And it really is to cover those things that we're mandated to cover, that we have no control over, that either the comptroller tells us we have to do, or the state tells us that we have to do, and we have to find the money, we have to come up with it. So, I think that is, responsible. Mr. Chacon, you wanna have a seat?
Yes.
Okay. And now, since this is a hearing, I'll open it up to, public comment. Anybody in the third row? Nope. Okay. Anybody in the second row? Nope. All right. Thank you. Mr. Chacon, you want to come back up? So I will entertain a motion to approve the budget, and then Mr. Chacon has a couple of resolutions that he'll have to read, but at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented with a 1.95 tax levy increase for the 2026-27 fiscal year.
Motion.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Sartori, seconded by Trustee Casado. Mr. Rivera, please pull the board.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sartori.
Yes.
Trustee Casado.
Yes.
Mayor Pereira.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
now we have to do, thank you,
One
some
resolution.
administrative
Yes, one resolution.
housekeeping.
Resolved to adopt the homestead adjusted base proportion for the Village of Mineola as recommended by the village assessors for the 26-27 tax year.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Clark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Sartori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Clark, seconded by Trustee Casado. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we're gonna go right, so we're done? You're
No.
good? Oh, no, are we doing Savino today?
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Yeah.
Ch-
Let's stay, yeah.
Oh, stay?
Yeah,
Okay.
since we noticed that. Community development funding for the 52nd year allocations.
Okay. Come on up, Mrs. Savino.
Close the meeting? Does it matter if we close the meeting?
Good evening, Mayor and Board.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
As Brian indicated, this is for the 52nd CDBG year. First, a little background. Mineola is one of 34 municipalities in the Nassau County Urban Consortium, formed by mutual agreement many years ago. The consortium is a designated entitlement community, so members can receive community development block grants issued by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. HUD earmarks these block grants for certain authorized CDBG activities to help each community improve its services and facilities, revitalize eligible areas, and encourage economic development. To be eligible, the activity's primary objective must be to either A, benefit low to moderate income persons, B, prevent or eliminate qualified slums or blight, or C, to address community development needs where there's an urgent, particularly urgent matter. Over the years, HUD and New York State have increased application and reporting requirements, so now we must also complete and submit the village's Fair Housing Activity Statement with the application for eligibility. That report is included in your packet. HUD also changed its policy as it regards the consortium contract terms. What used to be 5-year terms went down to 4 years about 10 years ago, and now it's down to 2 years. That can be an onerous chore. So with that as a backdrop, here are summaries of the 2 categories of funding that we requested. First, we applied for funds to upgrade the village's community center and village hall fire alarm system for the protection and welfare of occupants and the complex itself. Funding will cover all hard and soft costs. As a note for the record, while CDBG funds are generally prohibited for expenses on buildings used for the general conduct of government, we noted an exception to that regulation when fire protection equipment is considered an integral part of a public facility, as it is here. So this is an eligible CDBG expense. That request was for $100,000. Tying back to other funding, number 2, tying back to other funding awards for streetscape signs to complement the New York Forward Core and to take advantage of the change in the latest census map, which now enables this expenditure in some areas west of Mineola Boulevard to Ericks Road, including Marcellus and Garfield at Memorial Park. Funding requested here seeks to cover costs to replicate final sign designs from the village's core New York Forward business area and to complement them in these new eligible locations. The focus will be to attractively welcome visitors and passerby and to direct and highlight Mineola attractions like Memorial Park. In addition, there are 2 public parking fields within the new census tracts, not prior eligible for CDBG coverage, nor within the New York Forward Award. This request was for $56,000. Are there any questions?
Okay. No questions. I just would like to mention that you may have heard, usually this kind of stuff is pretty boring for most people, but if you remember at the beginning of the current, and as Mr. Savino said, Community Development Block Grants, CDBG, is kind of a pass-through grant that comes through HUD, Housing and Urban Development, which is a federal agency. And you could imagine that our governor and the President of the United States have not seen eye to eye. So there was some threats early on to withhold community development block grants. And that always has the possibility of happening and certainly complicating the process and making it more onerous. Right now, it seems to have quieted down. We like that, so that that money can pass through, administered by Nassau County, but it's really federal dollars. And as Mr. Savino mentioned, all of Mineola does not qualify. This is based on census tracts that is based on, different demographic and socioeconomic indicators. And so what may have qualified 10 years ago doesn't qualify now, and what may not have qualified 10 years ago now all of a sudden does. And that is why you will see some of the improvements that we do in certain areas and not in others, because we're limited to those areas that HUD, or in this case, community development, allows us to. So that does change. Oftentimes, I would say, generally speaking, Mr. Savino, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably since we started this program decades ago, we probably have fewer tracts now than we did in the past, because obviously, if you've looked around, our home values have gone up, our median income has gone up, and so some areas that may have qualified now have, kind of graduated out but we still do have places that do qualify, and we intend on using the money for that. The part about the alarm here is, and again, Mr. Rivera was dealing with this, is that our alarm system, we have the Village Hall section, we have the Community Center section, and they weren't really, it wasn't done in a uniform way, right? Is that kind of a correct? Yeah, it needs to be one system. It was kind of done in the past. We don't have exactly a record of where things are and how they function, and they were not kind of communicating the 2 different systems in the 2 different parts of Village Hall and the Community Center. And since we are redoing the Community Center later this year, we not only did we want to, we essentially have no choice but to install one single fire alarm system for the entirety of the building. And it's great that we're able to get ask for $100,000 to cover that. And as Mr. Savino said, traditionally HUD money cannot be used for government buildings, for improving this room, for example. So it's under very, very strict, kind of conditions, and those conditions were met as a result of that. So anybody else have any questions for Mr. Savino?
I do. I just have one question. Hi.
Hi.
So my question is, you mentioned the $56,000 was for signage, and you're tying it into kind of the New York Forward theme of how things are going. So my question to you is timing, and I'm assuming that there's a set time that we have to use the funds by, and what if the because I know New York Forward is it's a longer process.
Right.
So my concern is that, will these funds expire before we're at the point where we could actually create that?
Well, that goes back to my comment too, because you're just as you said, it's always a long process.
Right.
When they do these, you have 2 years to do this. They leave out the amount of time for procurement and all the regulations, which probably takes a year.
Okay,
and planning.
okay,
So you take a year out of the two, and now you gotta do all these things
right,
in a little time, and probably, in occasions, convince people to participate.
okay,
So in this case, what this contract will require is that it's done in 2 years.
okay,
If it's not, we can request an amendment, and we can request a couple of amendments. But this is not a major thing. The major part was doing a lot of what we've already done the homework on, and that
okay,
is creating the concepts. Now that we have the concepts, in fact, there's a bid that's coming out that I'm getting back Friday to start
Oh.
doing some of the signs that you're looking for.
oh, great,
So we're gonna tie that in, and we should be able to speed it up and get it done in the 2-year period.
okay. Because to your point, I want to be cohesive with the New York Forward program. That
Right.
program alone takes a bit of time, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to sacrifice the funding.
Right. Well, that should give us the impetus to make sure that we set a form, an image,
Sooner rather than later.
right, so that we have an image in place, and then we'll follow that along the way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Trustee
No
Casado?
question, no question.
questions? Trustee Clark?
I'm gonna abstain from this
Yeah.
matter.
Okay. And this is for the 52nd year, we're asking for $156,000?
Yes.
Okay. But there's always the possibility to get more.
There's always a possibility, yes.
Okay.
So do we have to request more and hope we get 156?
As we go along, and if we're achieving what we need to do and show that we need more, we'll request it, and then
Separate
if there's
request.
money available, often they'll do that. Now, the money has been tighter lately, so it's not necessarily the same as it used to be. And as I said, things have changed over the years, so, but it's definitely a possibility.
You know, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Brian and some of our other staff here. You guys do an amazing job at going after all the grants and all the money that's out there, and that's why, back to our previous conversation, our budgets look the way they do, because a lot of what we do is because we get all this funding from other places.
Well, I'll tell you, maybe off the record, that didn't help us too much, because we got so much money for some of the duplicative things that we didn't cry out as much as I tend to do,
Okay,
crying out for, we need this money.
okay.
So hopefully as time goes on, we'll increase that.
Yeah.
A lot of what we accomplish is because of the funding that you guys help us get, so thank you.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
we had 4.5 for New York Forward, 1.13 for the capital improvements here, so, right, we can't ask for money for downtown signage if it's already included in New York Forward. you know,
Right.
So, but we have to try, and again, not that it's related to this, but I do see work going on Jericho Turnpike. That's part of the facade, those stores?
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
and was that
Which I will
two or s-
report
2 or 3?
is actually 5
5
storefronts
stores,
by 2 owners.
right.
2 sets of owners. That has been pulling teeth. But this, I hope, will be impetus to encourage some of the other people who were on the fence and said
Right.
no. They may now get back on the fence and say, okay.
Right, but that's work that I see going on
Yes,
outside.
yes, yes.
Okay.
And that actually will be very far along next week. Signs are going up Monday, and by Wednesday, lights should start, and then awning should be very soon thereafter.
Great.
Right. Excellent, thank
Okay.
you. All right, do we have to approve? Okay,
Oh.
anyone in the third row? No?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request by Mr. Savino.
Motion.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Sartori, seconded by Trustee Casado. Mr. Rivera, please pull the board.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, now I'll entertain a motion to close the work session,
No.
the public hearing.
Stay on, O'Brien.
Yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Sartori, second by Trustee Casado. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we're gonna go right into our work session now. That's what I meant, I was saying.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, it's been a long couple of weeks.
Bills and payroll?
Yes, I'll entertain a motion to approve bills and payroll.
Motion?
Motion by Trustee Casado. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before you start, I'll just get out of the way. Anything from you, Mr. Givens?
No, Mayor.
No,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
So that way I don't have to.
You don't have to forget it later.
I don't have to leave, do I?
You can't, now yous can't leave.
Resolved to approve alternate side parking regulations on White Road between Jackson Avenue and 261 White Road from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. during the school year.
This is the request.
Yes,
Okay,
from last
they
week.
got the signatures.
Yes, they got the 11.
Okay, Well-
Did they do petitions?
yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
yep, they did petitions, they
Okay.
were one short or two short.
They were
and
one short last week, now they're good.
They're good,
Okay,
okay. We'll see, I wish them well, I hope it works in their favor. We'll see, I hope they're not back here, asking us to remove them, but, all right, as I told them last week, and we, absolutely, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Sartori, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Clark, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, motion carries.
Resolved to authorize the proposal for engineering services for the inspection and preparation of reports for the village's 2 water storage tanks. Engineers are DMB Engineers, cost of $5,800. Funding source is the 2025-2026 Water Fund budget and/or the Water Fund unreserved fund balance.
Okay, so this is our in-ground storage tank at Emory and our above-ground storage
Correct.
tank on Elm. And both of them need to be inspected. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion?
Motion by Trustee Casado, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Clark, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries.
A couple of personnel items. Resolved to accept the resignation letter from Sean McCrave, laborer in the Highway Division of the Department of Public Works, and authorizing the benefit payout in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, Sean is one of those long-term employees that we were talking about. We wish him well in his retirement, and we congratulate him, and he's entitled to this payout. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the payout for Sean McCrave.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Deputy Mayor Sartori, seconded by Trustee Casado. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolved to authorize the benefit payout of Eric Richter in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Clark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Sartori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolved to authorize the hiring of Karen Shriki as a cashier in the Justice Court starting May 7th, 2026, with workdays and hours as Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., with a starting salary of $51,400 a year.
Okay, this is to fill an open vacancy in the Justice Court. So I'll entertain a motion.
Motion?
Motion by Trustee Casado. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
That's it? Okay.
No, Mayor.
No, we're covered.
Still no.
Mr. O'Keefe, affidavit of mailings. Does that count for next time? I got credit. Okay, we do have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, a work session and a public meeting. However, if there are, that would be the 4th Wednesday of the month. But there is a chance that we may cancel it if there are no items for the village board to consider. And as I did mention earlier, I did want to just reiterate, although this is not a public meeting, John Spellman, somebody who many of us up here on the board and many in the community considered a friend, and really was an integral part of this board for decades, going back to the 80s. And a lot of people didn't know that John lived in Mineola originally, I believe on Andrews Road, before he moved to Garden City. Family was very important to him. He was, obviously an outstanding attorney, village attorney, knew municipal law very well, funny, very family-oriented, and really loved this place, this job, this village, although he didn't live here for many, many years. And I know that he was a village attorney in other villages, but I also know that this was his favorite. And I know that he leaves behind an amazing legacy in the firm that he helped start with our current village attorney, John Gibbons, and we were very well represented then, and we're very well represented now, but we certainly want to convey to his family that he will and they will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers. And John's legacy is, Mrs. Spellman's legacy is certainly intact in this village. When you think about serving as a village attorney over numerous administrations from different sides of the political spectrum, that tells you something about how well you do your job, especially in times where it was much more contentious and political than it is now, and oftentimes the village attorney, in this case Mr. Spellman, was the common voice, the voice of reason, the one that held it all together. So, you know, I know that I learned a lot from him. I know that when I came on the board with Mr. Casado was on the board, you know, we had some really long nights back then. And he always had a positive attitude. He always tried to look at things, you know, he always looked at problems, not as insurmountable, but as something that could be, you know, solved, and the solutions could be found. And he often was the voice of reason. So I know he had a tremendous impact on my career up here, and I know that he had a tremendous impact, you know, in the community at large. So may his soul rest in peace. I'll entertain a motion
If
to.
I-
may I
Sure,
say
sure.
one thing?
No, sure, I'm sorry, go ahead. Deputy Mayor.
Just since we won't have a public meeting and I have no other forum to say it, I just wanted to, I had the honor of swearing in the new officers of our fire department this week. So I wanted to congratulate Chief Strauss along with all the other new officers. Thank you for your service. We wish you safety and success at your new leadership roles. And we know that we're proud to have the best fire department on this island by far. So congratulations to everybody.
Absolutely, congratulations.
Just a reminder, this Saturday, the NAA opens up its 2026 season, their 70th anniversary. Take place at 9 o'clock on field number 1 for the ceremony.
Yeah, ceremony, no parade this
No
year, so
parade.
there'll be a ceremony. Hopefully, we'll see you there. Anything, Mr. Clark?
Yeah, you got 5 hours to file your income taxes.
4 hours and 48 minutes to file your income taxes. Very good. I'll entertain a motion to close the
Motion.
work session. Motion by trustee Clark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Casado. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.